I would like, if I may, to discuss the word classics because I was looking on Netflix earlier tonight and I ran across a section listed as classics. And I had what I would consider the classics, where it was like black and white shit starring Cary Grant and all that. But they also had a few movies from the 1980s, like Trading Places with Dan Aykroyd and Eddie Murphy and what's her name? Jamie Lee Curtis. That's it. And I'm like, yeah, at some point, we're going to have to put a limit on what is considered a classic because at some point we will get more movies being classics than movies that are more recent than that. And it seems like, well, I mean, we've had the film industry for about 121 years. I don't really know about music, but this applies to music as well. I don't know when the first song was recorded, for mass production anyway. But the point being is for all of human history, we have had these movies for just a tiny, tiny, tiny portion of it. I mean, we can record human history back at least, well, more than 2,000 years, clearly, because there's definitely been human civilization long before that. But like I say, 121 years is not much by comparison. And so it almost seems premature to call anything a classic yet. I mean, if you look at some of the music that's existed back into like the Baroque and the Renaissance and all of that, the classical periods, those have been around for hundreds upon hundreds of years, those songs. And now we're starting to call stuff that's significantly less than that classic. It doesn't make a lot of sense. So it seems to me that there ought to be a cutoff point. And granted, we can call some things classics that came after color film photography. And so we can't say, well, everything that's black and white is a classic and everything after that is not. Because let's face it, people are going to say The Wizard of Oz is a classic, and I understand why. I get it. Not really the hugest fan of musicals, mostly because the songs don't advance the plot. They pick one little thing and just keep going on that for like 5 minutes before there's any plot. And I'm like, get on with it. Tell some more story. Anyway, point being that, well, okay, granted, maybe this is some sour grapes because let's face it, the 1980s for me is my childhood. The things from the 1980s shouldn't be classics yet. What my parents watched was classics. But even so, it does seem to me that with the birth of the industry comes the beginning of what should be considered classics. And then after that, well, how long before you can start saying, well, this is all the modern stuff? How long before you can say this is no longer something that can qualify as a classic ever? You know what I'm saying? Do you get where I'm coming from on this? Because, I don't know, it just seems a little bit like it's premature to call things classics yet. Even the older stuff that I consider classics, like I said, black and white with Cary Grant or whatever, yeah, even that seems a little early when we've only had the film industry for, what, a century and a quarter so far? I'm just saying.